Hello there guys, welcome to another of my live videos, and today I'm just be officially updating you on some more latest news. So if you do consider drop your likes, and if you do consider subscribe to the channel as always. So I do think now it is time for Ole Gunnar Solsjaker to leave the football club. I've got one stat to tell you. I think we have the fourth worst record in the Premier League since Ole Gunnar Solsjaker was appointed as full-time manager at the end of March, which was obviously earlier on this year. And I think we've only registered 17 points from our last 16 Premier League games, and I think it's only Southampton, Brighton, and Watford that have worse records than Manchester United. But it's coming from bad to worse. Basically, we're sitting I think 2 points above relegation, and obviously the last time Manchester United relegated, I think it was back in 1974. I think now it's 11 away games that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's had now without a win at Manchester United. I think the last time we won away from home was the game against PSG last season, of course, when we did produce that miraculous comeback and that. But obviously now you've got the vast majority of Manchester United fans demanding Ole Gunnar Solskjaer out the football club. Obviously there has been a lot of talks about it going on now about sacking Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and like I did say on my match reaction for the Newcastle Man United game, I think I do feel sorry for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Obviously reflecting on our bad run of form and performances, obviously Solskjaer is accountable for that, because obviously some of his tactics and that are questionable, and I will admit we are tactically inept in my opinion and that. But I think the club put him in a position in a very very difficult position, and that like I said, I don't think we should have given Ole Gunnar Solskjaer the job and that. I think we should have waited until the end of last season, or we should have waited at some point until this season to make a decision whether to give him the job or not. But obviously reflecting back when Solskjaer was the interim manager of the football club, obviously he was interim manager for 3 months, and actually he won 14 games out of 19. So in that 3-month period Solskjaer did really really well. The results were good, the performances were good, and he exceeded expectations. And obviously in that 3-month period as well, we was getting glimpses of the Alex Ferguson's days. But since he's got the job permanently, of course everything has just seemed to have all gone wrong. But now as we speak, we are enjoying our worst start to a Premier League season for 3 decades. With 8 games into the Premier League season, we've only won 2 league games so far this season, and I think we've only registered in total so far 9 points from what a possible 24, and we know that's nowhere near good enough to our standards. And I actually think now we are sitting 12th in the league. But this is an absolute embarrassment, and obviously giving you my match analysis on yesterday's game, it was another abysmal performance from Manchester United. We're struggling to create chances. We're not showing any attacking intent. We can't keep hold of the possession. We can't string 2 or 3 passes together. And I don't think I think there wasn't even one good individual performance yesterday in that game against Newcastle. We didn't really create much. I think the only chances I think we created was the Harry Maguire chance from that header he should have scored. I think Andres Pereira had the chance, but I think prior to that Manchester United didn't really create anything in that. But I think due to our inconsistency, I think the vast majority of the blame stems from everybody. Like I do keep mentioning, I think the vast majority of the blame stems from the board, and I think the board are a liability. But the board obviously didn't back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer enough during the summer. Obviously, the board haven't been ruthless enough in the last 3 to 4 windows and that, and I think it's everybody to blame. I think also some of the blame stems from Ed Woodward. Obviously, a lot of Man United fans are demanding him out of the football club. Well, they've been demanding him out of the football club now for quite some time. I think also some of the blame does stem obviously from a lot of players, because there's a lot of players that are underperforming. But we've been poor all season basically. We were lucky to win at home against Leicester early on in the season. That came from a penalty. A lot of people are saying, we was lucky to beat Chelsea on the opening day of this season. We won that game, obviously, 4-0. Obviously, we dropped points at Wolves away. We dropped points at home to Crystal Palace. We dropped points at Southampton away. Obviously, dropped 2 points at home to Arsenal, So we've just been very, very poor. And I think, we're enjoying a worse season this season so far than what we saw last season. And, last season was bad enough because, we finished 6th. I think last season we finished around, 32 points behind Manchester City. We failed to qualify for the Champions League. And I did initially say, our expectations this season is obviously to finish in that top four, because obviously we want to get back into the Champions League and that, but obviously we're not going to get top four now. I've already forgot about the top four, and that obviously Solsjaker has got big doubts about even finishing in the top six. I think if we continue this bad run of form, I think we could finish maybe 10th, 11th. I don't think we'll get relegated, because I think the club's too big in that, and obviously there's a lot too much money into the club for us to get relegated. So obviously don't see that happening in that. But reflecting on the amount of money that's been invested into this football club, also reflecting on the history of this football club, we should be much more of a commanding position than we're in now. You're still getting certain pundits and like Gary Neville, Roy Keane and that obviously still believe we should stick with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We should give him at least a couple more windows to make further investment, and obviously to see who else he can recommend to the football club, because I will agree on that aspect that he is still in the process of rebuilding his Solskjaer, because analysing the majority of this squad, obviously it isn't Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. There's only 3 players that are his, that I did recommend to the squad during the summer. We did spend a substantial amount. We spent obviously nearly around £150 million on Daniel James and Wan-Bissaka and on Harry Maguire, and to be fair we have seen glimpses of what good signings they've proven to be so far. But despite our bad start to the season, I still think there is certain players that have played well, but I think the vast majority of them of course have underperformed and that. But like I'm saying, we've got players on big contracts at this football club. You've got Rashford on nearly 300 grand a week. He hasn't performed to the standards as we all expected. Rashford has not played well at all this season. I think prior to the game against Chelsea in pre-season, this season he has been mainly inconsistent in comparison to his time when he first broke into the senior squad. So Rashford's been absolutely dreadful so far this season, and a lot of people do believe now that Marcus Rashford is overrated. Rashford was abysmal yesterday. Obviously you've got Paul Pogba. He's on 290 grand a week. He's on just under 300 grand a week at the football club. Is Paul Pogba. Obviously I know recent reports have been saying that he's demanding a substantial 600 grand a week if he's to renew his contract at the football club. You've obviously got Harry Maguire. He's on 200 grand a week. Who else? You got Lingard, he's on around 100 grand a week. Martial, 200 grand a week. You've got De Gea, that's obviously the highest paid goalkeeper in the world. He's on 375 grand a week and that. So we have got players on big contracts and that at the football club, and look at the amount of money that's been invested into Manchester United in the last 6 or 7 years. Since the Alex Ferguson era. I think an estimated guess. I think we spent £800 million on players and that. Obviously, that's not taking into account what was spent under Alex Ferguson, because obviously Alex Ferguson developed a lot of young players, even though he did spend money in that. If you want to take into account what was spent under Ferguson, obviously it's way over £1 billion that's been spent at the football club. But I think the reason we're sticking with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for this present time is because obviously Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was a club legend. He was a great player for Manchester United for 11 years, and I think this is the only reason we've stuck with him. If obviously if it had been any other manager now in this position, I think any other manager would have been sacked from the football club. But anyway, like I said, I do feel sorry for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But obviously we know that managers obviously demand to get more time and that. But obviously we know now at this day and age managers don't get the time that they require, because obviously we know now the boards are a lot more ruthless. Solskjaer overall now has been at the club around 10 nearly 11 months I think it is now, and so he hasn't really had a long tenure at the moment. But look at it towards the back end of last season. The performances wasn't good enough. We had negative results. Look at last season, lost at home to Cardiff 2-0 at the end of last season, drew with Huddersfield, got absolutely destroyed at Everton last season by 4 goals to 0. So everything needs to improve at Manchester United. Everything needs to improve. The performances, the results. Our home form needs to improve. Our away form needs to improve. I think the style of play needs to improve, because obviously everyone is unhappy with the brand of football. So basically, just everything needs to improve at Manchester United. And I do keep mentioning, I do credit Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in certain aspects in that. He's got a lot of trustworthy in his young players. He did recommend 3 good players to the squad during the summer, and obviously he did get rid of a lot of the deadwood during the summer. So it was good that we did get that summer clear out that we did want. Around 7 players have now left since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's arrival. But speaking I still think, there's a lot more players that do need to leave the football club, and these still now problematic players at Manchester United, that are not good enough, to represent the football club. But yeah, this is the worst Manchester United team I've ever seen. Obviously, when we did get them three signings in the summer, we thought obviously, would have had a better season this season. Obviously, that hasn't, materialised. It hasn't materialised, unfortunately. Obviously, we know that we didn't do enough business during the summer. We didn't address all the problematic areas in that. Obviously, we didn't get all our number one targets. But I did say the reason that we didn't get all the players that we wanted because obviously we failed to qualify for the Champions League, and obviously when you're not in Champions League football, obviously it's going to be harder to attract players to the elite level. So for me, there's definitely still areas where Manchester United are lacking. I think we definitely need a striker. I think that's Solskjaer's priority for January. If Solskjaer is to be still at the club by January, definitely that midfield is one of the areas where Manchester United do need to strengthen up, because we are definitely lacking in that midfield. But yeah, and it just proves always getting them Galactico players or always spending a substantial amount on players doesn't always guarantee you success, and that's been proven with Manchester United in the last 6 or 7 years. And sometimes just maybe getting average players or just being sensible with recruitment and that, and not overpaying for players can get you in a better position. So it just shows doesn't it? But like I did say, Solskjaer is our fourth permanent manager, since the Alex Ferguson era. And if Solskjaer is to be sacked by the football club, he will be the fourth manager, to be sacked in that. Because obviously we know Mourinho's gone, Van Gaal's gone, and of course David Moyes have gone, since the Alex Ferguson era. And I did initially say, we haven't got the structure to keep sacking managers in that. And I don't want Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to be sacked by the football club, but I just don't think he's good enough to succeed as a manager. And like I said, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's not got that managerial experience, to the highest level. So that's another element of concern I've got about him. Obviously, Solskjaer won a couple of Norwegian titles with Mould. Obviously, he had a really, really short tenure with Cardiff, and his record at Cardiff, was also very, very bad. But, he only had a short tenure with them. But I always love Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Like I said, he was a great player for us. Don't forget, he won us the treble back in 1999, obviously with a goal that he scored, and that's obviously, one of the club's greatest achievements. But like I said, the board need to assure structural changes at the football club, and whether they can assure these structural changes or not, I do not know. And for me, we're just lacking goals. Last season we only managed 53 goals in the Premier League, and this season so far, in 8 league games, we've only managed 9 goals, and that is really, really bad, to be quite honest. I think we've actually, in the games we have scored, we've scored 1 in every single game that we've scored, prior to the Chelsea game on the opening day of the season. But now, it's worse under the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer era than it was under the Mourinho era. It's even worse than it was under the David Moyes era. And, David Moyes obviously only lasted 10 months at the football club. Obviously, he's the manager to have the shortest tenure, since the Alex Ferguson era. Obviously, that was one mistake Alex Ferguson did make, was obviously recommending David Moyes into the job, and that because obviously we're both Scottish and and that. But we know it was never ever going to work out under the David Moyes era. So it's just basically worse, because I think now it's been proven. I think Solskjaer's record after 29, 30 games, it's proven to be worse than Jose Mourinho's and that. But like I said, under the Jose Mourinho era, obviously, we won the Europa League, we won the League Cup and that. So obviously, he won the double basically in his first season. Did Mourinho? Mourinho had a 2.5 year tenure at Manchester United. He's actually, he's the longest serving manager we've had. Obviously, since the Alex Ferguson era and all the other managerial eras, he's had obviously, the longest tenure. Mourinho obviously spent just under £400 million at the football club. He recommended 11 players in. He recommended a lot in now, and obviously Solskjaer's still inheriting the vast majority of them. But in my opinion, Mourinho, wasn't only just a problem. Obviously, he wasn't good enough for Manchester United. I think the club, to be fair, recommended Mourinho in too late. I think if we'd have recommended him in after Alex Ferguson's retirement, then it may have been a different scenario with Manchester United. We appointed Mourinho in too late, and obviously, you know, he was regarded as one of the best managers in the world because Mourinho obviously has got that proven pedigree. You know, he's won stuff and that, you know, everywhere he's been. Obviously, he won the Europa League and League Cup with us. He won the Champions League, was it with Porto or Real Madrid, if I can remember rightly. You know, he won the title a couple of times with Chelsea and that. But the reasons it didn't work out under him, because obviously, you know, he had bad disputes with the board. He had bad disputes with the top players. You know, the board weren't backing the signings that he wanted to recommend in to the football club last summer. And, you know, it was just part of the bus football under Jose Mourinho. So these are the reasons, you know, why it didn't work out back under the Jose Mourinho era. But yeah, you know, nothing's changed basically. And like I said, we've been a toxic club, you know, for the last 6 or 7 years. But something basically, you know, has to change at Manchester United. But, you know, if Ole Gunnar Solsjaker, you know, is to be sacked by the football club, you know. Like I said, who would you recommend in? I think it's probably more than likely we will reignite our interest in Mauricio Pochettino, because if you do remember rightly, before we recommended Ole Gunnar Solsjaker in, after Jose Mourinho's sacking, you know, we went in for Mauricio Pochettino. Obviously at the time, you know, Mauricio Pochettino didn't have any intentions of leaving Tottenham. I do believe now, reflecting on Tottenham's bad run performances, that obviously Mauricio Pochettino will be under, you know, some kind of pressure. And if Pochettino is to be sacked by Tottenham and he gets the opportunity to come to Manchester United, I think he will grasp that opportunity, to be quite honest with you. And a lot of people believe that Pochettino, you know, would suit the trappings of the football club. They're thinking that he'll be able to turn things around at Manchester United. Obviously, he's highly experienced in the Premier League. Obviously, hasn't won out in terms of silverware, but he's still got that experience. He's in his 6th season with Tottenham. Obviously, I think he's been there around 5 years though. Obviously, don't forget he had a good short tenure with Southampton, you know, before he was at Tottenham. He's managed 3 teams so far in his managerial career as Pochettino. Obviously, he started his managerial career with Espanyol and that, I think. Can't remember, you know, how long he was there for, but I think Pochettino's got a 32 million release clause in that. So it did say at the time he was in for him that would have to pay a compensation of around 32 million to recommend him into the football club. Don't forget, Daniel Levy is also a hard negotiator when it comes to, you know, teams tapping some of their players or obviously going for a manager or whatever. He's a hard negotiator, is Daniel Levy. But, you know, we have done business, you know, with Tottenham in the past. Don't forget, obviously, you know, we got Michael Carrick for them back in 2006. Don't forget, we also got Dimitar Berbatov off them, you know, if you do remember rightly. So we have done business with Tottenham and that. But like I said, I think Pochettino would be the right candidate for Manchester United. Don't forget, we went in for Zinedine Zidane at one point. Obviously now he's in obviously management with Real Madrid. At one point obviously stepped down as manager for 9 months, then obviously, you know, went back into the Real Madrid job. There has been a lot of top reports stemming from the Italian press talking about, you know, Massimiliano Allegri, obviously, you know, the former Juventus manager. Reports were coming out the other week saying that we have made him as our primary candidate, you know, to replace Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at the football club. But who would you recommend in, you know, to replace him at Manchester United? That is the question I'm obviously, you know, I'm asking you. But for me, yeah, everything basically, you know, needs to improve at Manchester United. And like I said, a lot of players have underperformed so far this season. I still think these certain players that have done quite well. I think, you know, Daniel James has done well, Pisaka's done well, Maguire's done mainly well. I think McTominay's done mainly well. I know he was poor yesterday, but I think, you know, prior to that game, you know, I think McTominay, you know, has done really well this season, and, you know, he has deserved to keep his place in the team. If in regards to him being a long-term solution for Man United, you know, I have got element of concerns about that, but can he keep the consistency up? He's had one bad game, I think, this season. That was the game yesterday, but apart from that, he's done well. Fred, he was also very poor yesterday. Look, they both looked exposed. Obviously, you know, Sean Longstaff and, you know, Matthew Longstaff both embarrassed. You know, Scott McTominay and Fred. But with Fred, I still think he needs more time at the football club. I know a lot of people believe he's not good enough and that. He's only been here since last summer, don't forget. Obviously, you know, we paid just under £50 million for Fred from Shakhtar Donetsk. I know he hasn't performed to the same sort of level as he did do at Shakhtar Donetsk, but I still think, you know, the club do need to give him time, because I think any of our midfield options are better options than than Nemanja Matic. I think Matic is another problematic player at the football club. But like I said, we have got a lot of young players in the squad, that are developing and trying to improve at Manchester United and that. And, like I said, the vast majority of the young players, they've obviously been given their opportunities so far this season, which is very, very good. And, I'll credit Mason Greenwood. I think in the games, he's played this season, he's done really, really well for Manchester United as Mason Greenwood. And I think he can keep the consistency up. Obviously, has not yet started again from the start in the Premier League. And I did say at this present time, Mason Greenwood is a much better solution than Marcus Rashford, in my opinion. I think Mason Greenwood can definitely become a success at Manchester United. So I do believe the time is 23-24. He'll be a world-class centre-forward for the club. Obviously, you can play him on the right, but you mainly see the best of him, when he is playing in that number 9. Greenwood, obviously, has made 6 substitute appearances so far this season in the league. Obviously, started them 2 games against Rochdale and FC Astana. Obviously, scored in them 2 games. So, obviously, come up with that moment of quality. But Mason Greenwood is only 18 years of age, and obviously, we can't rely on him. This is why, obviously, we need, a striker, because, obviously, now we do look exposed. Especially following the dismissal of Romelu Lukaku and Alexis Sanchez, we are lacking in that attack of third of the pitch. So we need to see inspiration in that attack of third of the pitch. But yeah, Mason Greenwood, to be fair, I think he's done really, really well. The games and that he has played in. But yeah, still got a lot of development in him, and it's obviously. And it's obviously impossible, to leave him out of the team, if he does keep the consistency up. But I've got some element of concern, about certain young players. I've got some element of concern, about certain young players and that maybe, some of them need to be loaned out because, maybe they're not good enough to represent Manchester United, and maybe, it'd be beneficial for their career. Obviously in that aspect, he will gain them more experience. I think maybe Tuanzebe can become a success at the football club as well, because I think the majority of the games he's actually played in this season, Tuanzebe, to be fair, has done quite well. Like I said, we have got a lot of young players. You've got Angel Gomez. He's played a couple of times this season. He's another one of our midfield options. You've obviously got Jimmy Garner. I don't think he's yet played this season, but did play quite a few times throughout pre-season. You've got Andres Pereira. He hasn't performed that good this season. I think he had a good game against Arsenal, but I think prior to that he hasn't done that well. Yeah, so we've got a hell of a lot of young players in the squad. Chong, he's another young player. I've got a lot of element of concerns about. I don't think he can become a success at Manchester United. I think maybe we need to orchestrate on loading him out. I think Chong is totally comparison to Marcus Rashford. But yeah, and Jesse Lingard, he's been atrocious so far this season. Reflecting on his status at the football club, he should be, putting much more better performances out. We have still got injuries, but you can't. That's not even accountable. You can't use injuries as an excuse. To be quite honest with you, you can't use injuries as an excuse. Obviously we know we've still got some imperative players out of injury, and I think obviously all our players that are injured now, or vast majority of them that are injured now, should I say. They should be back, for the game against Liverpool after the international break. And, I'm dreading the game against Liverpool at Old Trafford. I think we're going to get beat easily. Liverpool, of course, have won every game so far this season. I think they're actually probably going to win the league this season, to be fair. Obviously, Man City dropped points yesterday against Wolves. They lost 2-0, and I think Liverpool now have got an 8-point lead. But Liverpool were unlucky, not to win the league last season. Obviously, Liverpool want to win the league because they haven't won, the league for around, 3 decades now. But Liverpool have got really, really good players. They've got a good manager. Obviously, Jurgen Klopp, won his first major honour with Liverpool last season, winning the Champions League. Liverpool did good investment, in the last couple of windows. They didn't make any investment this summer, but obviously in the windows before that they did. They got Van Dijk for 75 million. Obviously, they got Allington in, a really, really good keeper. They've got a good squad at Liverpool. They've got Andrew Robinson, probably regarded as one of the best left-backs in the world, or at least in the Premier League. They've got Trent Alexander-Arnold, risen up their academy. They've got Mohamed Salah, Firmino, Mane. They're a good attacking trio who show a lot of attacking intent and that can score goals and they're creative. So yeah, Liverpool are a really, really good team and that. And I know they don't beat us a lot at Old Trafford. Obviously they haven't beat us at Old Trafford in the league since 2014. That's obviously now around nearly 6 years ago. Obviously, the game was 0-0 at Old Trafford, last season, but we'll definitely lose the game against Liverpool, and that actually could be the game. If we don't win, that could sack Ole Gunnar Solsjaker and that. Because don't forget, when we lost to Liverpool 3-1 at Anfield last season, obviously that ended Jose Mourinho's tenure at Manchester United. But yeah, Liverpool is going to be a very, very difficult game. But I think, they are definitely going to win the league this season. Jurgen Klopp, hasn't really won much. He obviously won the Champions League with Liverpool. He won a couple of titles with Borussia Dortmund, when he was at Dortmund and that, but hasn't really won much. Not he's totally comparison, to Pep Guardiola, because obviously Pep Guardiola has won a lot more than Jurgen Klopp and that. But like I said, we know that a lot of players obviously left during the summer, and Italy's been a popular destination because obviously the vast majority of our players that have left this summer, of course, have gone to Italy. But like I did say, regardless of who our manager is, no one is going to ever follow Alex Ferguson's legacy. Well, Solskjaer can't invoke Ferguson's legacy to save him at Manchester United. No one will ever follow his legacy. We'll never be the team that we was under Alex Ferguson. We can take into account that obviously Ferguson didn't win out in his first 4 years, and that at Manchester United, he didn't win out in his first 4 years. But you can't use that as an excuse now of how we're performing and that. But, Solskjaer's not going to get 4 years. He won't even get 2 years at the football club and that. But Ferguson didn't win out in his first 4 years. But then look what he went and produced. We had 20 odd years, of course, a success under him and that. He developed a lot of young players. We had a great team back under Alex Ferguson. And I did say now I hope that this team, this day and age, can replicate, what the team did under Alex Ferguson. Obviously, I've got huge doubts about it. He's actually still a couple of players here from the Alex Ferguson era. But yeah, like I said, Pogba at the moment still out with injury. He should be back for Liverpool. He's been out with a foot injury. Well, he got a recurrence of his foot injury, of course, that he sustained earlier on in the season, against Southampton. Martial's still out with a thigh injury. He's missed the last 6 games in all competitions for Manchester United. You've got Luke Shaw. He's missed the last 6 games in all competitions for Manchester United. He's been out with a hamstring injury. You've got Lingard, who's just recently sustained a hamstring injury. He obviously, came off in the 0-0 draw against AZ Alkmaar. Yes, he did come off with injury. He's also injured as Eric Bailly. He's a long-term absence. Fosu Mensah's still out with injury. And yeah, Phil Jones, of course, he's another player that's injured, I think, at the moment. So yeah, we have still got quite a lot of injuries, but obviously, it is no excuse. But yeah, this is Man United, what I'm watching. This is not Man United at all. But like I said, we want to see that fear factor back to Manchester United. We want to see that winning mentality back at the football club, and none of those have been there, since the Alex Ferguson era and that. And we've got big ambitions for the future, and obviously those ambitions are to get back to winning silverware and that. This is obviously something that Solskjaer wants to bring back to the football club, but obviously we know that it's not going to happen. But we know that recent reports have mentioned that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, is making plans for the January transfer window, and that's so too is Ed Woodward. He's making plans for the January window, of who to get into, of who to try and get into the football club. And I think Man United have got quite a few players on their agenda who they could go in for in January. Solskjaer, I think, is still keen on recruiting young British players and that. Like he did do earlier on in the summer. Obviously, that was his current transfer strategy, and he obviously wanted to move away from the policy of signing them star names. But yeah, there's been recent talks, obviously, of Callum Wilson coming in from Bournemouth in January, possibly. There's been talks of Mario Mandzukic from Juventus. Obviously, there's been other players thrown into the equation. There's obviously, been talks of Moussa Dembele and Sean Longstaff from Newcastle. But yeah, do you think these would be the right calibre players for Manchester United? Do you think these would be the right calibre players? But I think, the players we was in for during the summer, probably more than likely, we will reignite our interest in some of them in January. Maybe, we will leave some until next summer. But analysing our recruitment policy, it isn't too good, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. It's actually, very, very poor. I'm happy with the players we did bring in during this summer, and it was good that we did address some of the problematic areas. We got that experienced centre-half in through Harry Maguire. Obviously, we got the right backing in that, but we didn't address all the problematic areas. But there again, it was going to be extremely difficult for us, to address all the problematic areas in one somewhere transfer window. But obviously, we know that Solskjaer, wants to bring more players to the club, that will fit the culture of the football club and that, and, fit the history of the football club. And he wants to build a team that he thinks can obviously win trophies and obviously be competitive in that. But Solskjaer, I don't even think he'll be at Manchester United in January. So I think, probably someone else will be in there by then. Because I just don't think things are going to turn around at the football club. I think you've still got Ryan Giggs coming out back in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He believes he can still succeed at Man United. He actually says Man United need another 5 players if things, are to be turned around at the football club and that. But yeah, these performances are just not acceptable and that. I also believe that, Paul Pogba's definitely leaving the football club without a shadow of a doubt. I think he'll go in January or next summer. I think Matic needs to leave the football club. I think Ashley Young, this should be his last season. I think Rojo, he's another player. Jones, he's another player that's no longer good enough. Rashford, will the club orchestrate on moving him on if he continues with his bad run of form, even though he's a regular starter? Lingard, do you think he could be moved on if he continues with his bad run of form? And yeah, just not acceptable at all. And, Newcastle are a really, really poor team. They were sitting 19th in the league, I think, before the game actually, started. I think they've actually moved up to now 16th with a win. To be fair to Matty Longstaff, he took his goal really, really well. That was, actually on his Premier League debut and that. But, Newcastle, did embarrass us a lot. They also hit the woodwork in the first half, so they could have actually won more than 1-0 Newcastle. I don't think Steve Bruce will succeed at Newcastle, to be fair with you. He hasn't really got that manager. Well, he has got the experience of manager because he's managed a lot of clubs, but he hasn't got it to the highest level. Hasn't really, run out, has he, from what I can remember anywhere. But he actually, was a good player. One mistake Newcastle did make, obviously, was getting rid of Benitez, but actually Benitez resigned. I think the main reason he resigned because obviously Newcastle didn't show him a substantial amount to spend in the summer and that. But yeah, we totally got embarrassed, and I think it's Liverpool. Yeah, it is Liverpool after the international break. I'm not too sure who it is after Liverpool. I think we've got Chelsea coming up soon in the Carabao Cup 4th round as well. Don't forget. I think that's going to be another difficult game because Chelsea now are starting to get wins. I've got this, but do you think Frank Lampard will succeed at Chelsea? That is another question because he's another one who hasn't got that managerial experience. He only started management last season with Derby and that. I think he did get them to the playoff final and that, and he may succeed at Chelsea. I think Chelsea obviously will give him time. Obviously Lampard knows the culture of Chelsea football club. He was a great player for them for 13 years. So in that aspect, he's compatible to Solskjaer. Obviously because they're both managers now that both played for their two clubs and that. But yeah, Lampard I think is Chelsea's all-time leading goal scorer with 211 goals. But yeah, so I don't know if he'll succeed at Chelsea or not. But yeah, definitely, things need to improve at Manchester United. But yeah, and a lot of industries also believe that, Solskjaer, will be gone by Christmas. But yeah, I do feel sorry for the guy, like I said. I think, like I mentioned on my recent video and early on in this video, I said basically, the only reason we're sticking with him for now because he was a club legend. Any other manager, Manchester United would not have put up with this. Would definitely not have put up with this. But yeah, so anyway guys, drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do consider subscribing to the channel, as always, and take care, God bless, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Thanks for watching.